Welcome to Sharing Sox, the first 2021 regular season edition. We are recording this on Wednesday before the afternoon game out in Seattle. So we're doing it on a winning streak. And we are going to see what happens. I'm Leigh Allan, the duty geezer at Southside Sox, and I am wearing, brief moment of silence here.
All right.
You can see the Abreu shirt. You realize Jose is now on a pace for 64 grand slams this year.
I don't anticipate that lightening up at all. I think we are.
I think that'll be it. And I think that sets the record by 59, if I recall correctly. So it's having a good year right there. With me, my son and West Coast correspondent Will, who had the misfortune of paying the big bucks to see Sunday night's game in Anaheim between two Little League teams. It had been scheduled between major league teams, but something happened.
Well, a lot of things happened during that game, none of which were good for the White Sox. Well, that's not true.
No, the four runs that were handed.
The White Sox were so bad that the Angels were like, come on, let's just give them a few. And they did. And unfortunately, I was there with fellow Southside Sox guy, Bill Mankey, and I got to say, we called that walk-off. we had a feeling that was going to happen. Yeah, it was just disgusting. What a terrible game. Terrible game. I will say.
The Sox defensively were okay, but 1 for 19 with runners on base that game.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely abysmal, and there was almost nothing to enjoy about that game altogether outside.
Frankly, the only thing to enjoy, I think, had nothing to do with the Sox. It had to do with Ohtani for the first time in his career playing both ways.
Yeah,
in the same game.
And seeing him do it really well. He pitched really well and he hit very well. I mean, that home run he hit was wow, just absolutely cranked.
And it's understandable you don't hit off Ohtani, even though he got completely gassed at the end and you should have been able to hit him, but not hit on what's got to be one of the worst bullpens in baseball. I mean,
they made Cishek, who I
meant to bring up the great Steve Cishek. Yeah.
Steve Cishek, I was telling Bill this, is the guy I bring in to pitch in video games when I'm up or down by 10 to 15. So, like, I don't even like pitching him in a fake world. And yet they brought him in against the White Sox, who should know everything about how to slug the crap out of this guy.
Yes, they should have a pretty good idea because everybody else slugged the crap out of him when he was with the Sox.
Yeah, it was one of those games where, Bill and I mourned all the way home from Anaheim, cursing Orange County and saying we'll never return to that stadium. It was actually a very nice night to watch a game. That shout out to the Angels stadium staff, which is probably the nicest stadium staff I've ever encountered. Just lovely environment. Angels fans, I hate to say, not the most exciting people in the world, but on the plus side, I think it was about 30 to 40% Sox fans in the stadium, which was really, really cool. It was really cool to see that many Sox fans outside of Chicago. I don't think I've really experienced that, especially this far away and in Anaheim, which, despite having a team that's been around for 60 years, it seems like no one cares that there's a
particularly with Disneyland closed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a cool place, but I don't think I'll ever go to another game there that doesn't feature the White Sox.
It's a long trip for you anyway, so.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the team. I had kind of, in my mind, had them as a 4-3 road trip, splitting the games in Los Angeles and taking 2 out of 3 in Seattle. I now think they can sweep Seattle. Seattle's playing without their one good offensive player. They've service-timed their theoretical phenom prospect. They got nothing. They pitched 2 left-handed. They're in a 6-man rotation. So, again, we're doing this before Wednesday's game. we're going to be facing the number 6 starter of the Seattle Mariners. Now, he's a right-hander. And of course, we never lose to left-handers. We brag about that all the time. All right. How many consecutive games have we beaten left-handers? Is it 18 now? 17 or 18?
It's 19.
Is it?
No,
we never mentioned.
right. The record is 19.
Okay, so we're at
The
18.
Sox are at 17 or 18.
17.
Yeah.
So we mentioned that constantly bring it up. Fans do, but more importantly, the theoretical professionals do, the announcers and the reporters that cover the Sox. What they never mention, I've never heard Stoney or Jason mention or read a professional writer say, we've lost 12 in a row to right-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, the last right-handed pitcher we've beaten was Trevor Bauer. But,
okay. Well, that's a cool thing to be able to say.
Yeah, but that was largely because the Reds didn't bother to score a run that day, which was fairly common for them. But so this thing, we can break the thing with right-handers, and probably by the time anybody is watching or listening to this, by it's even been posted, we'll have done that. We hope.
I hope so.
Crazy.
I mean, right now, we got one guy who can hit right-handed pitching. He's right behind me here. His name is Yermín Mercedes.
He could hit if they were throwing with both hands.
I have no clue what's going on there. I hate to be negative, but I look forward to all the Yermín Mercedes jerseys I'm going to find in Goodwill at some point in the next year, or at Salvation Army. This can't continue.
There was a post game where I think it was just one of the little inserts on the post game crew where Ozzie was holding a basketball and he said, "This is what that looks like to Yermín right now," and that was basically it.
I mean, have you seen a guy bat with more confidence in pro baseball?
No, particularly a guy who's been in the majors for one at bat prior to the past week. Yeah, he just walks up there with okay, throw me what you like. I got it. Now, I think eventually they're going to figure out something. There's a weakness somewhere because everybody has a weakness and pitchers will figure it out. And yesterday he had a really bad Tuesday night, 1 for 5. He's down to 565.
Yeah. Which I'm thankful for, because up until that point, Bill and I had attended the only bad Yermín Mercedes outing of 2021. And I was very disappointed about that. But last night he also went 1 for 5. So, he is human.
Now we all know that he's been the best hitter on the Sox, best hitters in the majors by far. It's not close. Do you know who the number 2 batting average is in the Sox? Don't peek at any stats.
On the White Sox?
Yeah.
Collins.
Billy Hamilton.
Okay, well, that's an interesting thing because Billy Hamilton started the game that we went to and started in left field and was the only guy who looked like he knew how to hit right-handed pitching in the game that we attended. Billy Hamilton looked good at the plate. He was confident. His exit velos were not crazy, but they were way higher than Billy Hamilton usually hits.
And he hit smart. And the 2 hits in a row for whoever was hitting behind him, they both just took the outside pitch and just swatted it to left field.
Yeah.
It must have been, Eaton probably was the next one. Just took the outside one. The guy's throwing 100 and hitting his spots and just tapped it out there to left. That's everybody needed to do, but nobody else was doing.
Well, and what Billy did nicely is he did it every at bat. He didn't get out on base in every at bat. They were caught, but he did not look lost at the plate. He did not look like a 100 hitter. It was actually kind of the best thing to come out of that game was to walk out of there thinking maybe Billy Hamilton can hit on the big league level or at least show enough plate discipline to get on base. And once Billy Hamilton's on base, as we know, a single
second.
Yeah. And there is just, his speed, holy crap. You watch it on TV and you're impressed, but seeing it in person, it's like he's the Flash. Like he makes Luis Robert look slow. It is really, really crazy how fast he is. And he doesn't fill out his jersey, he's like a pencil. But it's got to all just be muscle because he flies. He's really fun to watch, to be honest. He's exciting.
There was an interview, and Mom happened to be in the room with me at the time. They were doing an extended interview of spring training with Tim Anderson, who had come out of the game. And somebody said, "Well, you the fastest guy on the team?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I'm the fastest." Said, "Yeah, I'm faster than Engel. I'm faster than Luis." And they said, well, what about Billy?" He goes, "Oh no, no, I'm not faster than he is."
I feel like Billy Hamilton, if you say you're faster than Billy Hamilton, no one will take you seriously anymore. Like if Tim Anderson said, "Oh, I'm faster than Billy Hamilton," we all would have been like, "Oh, Tim Anderson's lost it. That's not good." But yeah,
okay, Luis Robert getting well, had a big homer on Tuesday night,
well,
but he's
first I want to throw out a fun geezer fact to look into, because this happened in the game we were at, and I turned to Bill and I said, if there's anyone on earth who can find out the answer to this, it's my dad. And if there's anyone on earth who is willing to spend the time to find out this answer, yeah. So I think it was it must have been the third, maybe later in the game, but we were coming up to bat, and the first batter was Billy Hamilton, number 0, and the second batter was Nick Madrigal, number 1. And my question is, when was the last time in Major League Baseball an inning led off with number 0 and was followed by number 1? Now, unfortunately,
wow.
Larry batted after that, and he's 28. So the next number was a 2 to start, but we had that 8 in there, so we can't really count that. And we'll obviously never have a number 2 on the White Sox because of Nelly Fox. But I'm curious. So next time we come back here, I want to know, when was the last time in Major League history led off with number 0 and then followed with number 1?
I'm going to guess never, but
my guess is never as well. Although I would think way back in the day, they didn't have the high jersey numbers, and you had a lot.
Did they have zeros?
That's the question, and that's what I don't know. And I said, I got a guy with some time on it.
I'll take a look. I don't know that I'll spend the whole week on it. We'll take a look.
You'll have 2 very disappointed coworkers.
Meanwhile, on the hitting front, we blast lefties as always. We just can't hit righties worth a damn, at least righty starters. But some of the guys, I would say, Luis is coming out of it. Obviously, Jose has been doing well the past couple of games. Moncada still struggling. Not that he doesn't get a hit now and then. He got a hit now and then last year, but he wasn't his normal self. I mean, I really worry about long haul or something else with him, or maybe just because he wasn't himself last year, he's got to get back in the groove. I don't know.
I'm not worried about Moncada. I'm not. Watching him play in person, he's just got to get back to it. And I'm really not concerned that this is going to be something that's going to derail his career or anything like that.
Oh no.
He is too good. He is too natural at the game of baseball for this to last a long period of time. Honestly, if I had to predict, I predict Moncada hits 300 this year. He takes a little while to heat up, and that's what we're seeing right now. And I do think he's going to bounce back just fine. I think you're a little premature on saying Luis is back. Luis is still a huge problem. And, he obviously he had the home run and he had another hit, but he cannot hit a slider. He just can't. And
from a righty.
And, we're very lucky that Seattle over the last couple of days has said, well, then we won't even make you face one. It's really bad. And seeing some of the strikeouts in Anaheim, I mean, come on. A couple of those balls were halfway to first base. I mean, with counts where he had 3 balls. So you're talking about just whiffing at pitches that would have put you on base. And with Luis Robert, often a walk is a double. So it's bad. And, until then, I think until they can get him to be a real first pitch threat, which he is not still. He still doesn't love to swing at the first pitch. He's going to have to swing at the first pitch because
But then as soon as he does that, he'll start getting sliders on the first pitch.
he has to hit it. He can't just swing at it. He's got to hit it because people are throwing it in there on the first pitch to him because they know that if they can get the first pitch, they can throw 6 straight sliders. And that's what he's getting. And once he gets that first pitch strike, if he hasn't hit it, he's in trouble. He's in big trouble from right-handed pitchers because they know. And I mean, that's what we saw in Anaheim. You saw them throw a fastball or a changeup right down the right in the middle of the strike zone, and then 6 straight sliders. You didn't even have to be guessing what was coming. You knew what was coming. It was always going to be sliders. And until he can figure that out, he is going to be a real liability against right-handers. That being said, he is also so naturally gifted that I think he does figure this out. And, they're going to be working on one thing with him for this whole season, which is hitting a slider off a right-handed pitcher. So if he's working really hard on that all the time, which I certainly believe he will be, I think he'll be fine. I also think Moncada will bounce back. I don't see a world where we have Yoan Moncada being a real problem for us in the long term.
Andrew Vaughn got his first hit Tuesday night. He's not been impressive at the plate. He's looked a little lost, I think, on a number of at-bats.
To be fair, as someone who has big, wide eyes that are frequently always open, Andrew Vaughn always looks lost at all times. Unfortunately, I think so far he actually has been lost at all times. But yeah, he got his first hit, and that's huge. That's going to be really huge moving forward for him. It took a long time to get that hit, longer than we expected. He does not feel ready to play Major League Baseball yet.
He doesn't, and it's going to get interesting what they do. Now you got Leury is hitting 100, and he's usually a spring guy, so this is not a good sign with him.
Yeah.
And you think, and at the same time, of course, he's having to play short right now with Tim out, but that should be a very short-term problem. At the same time, Madrigal defensively, you talk about Vaughn looking lost at the plate. Madrigal just looks so lost defensively, and it's got to be in his head now. He's been playing so badly that it's got to be in his head.
Oh, it's 100% in his head. I can tell you as a former second baseman, the second you make, not necessarily the first error, but the second, and even if it's not an error, when you start making these plays that are below what they should have been, when you're not
the double plays that aren't,
when you're not turning double plays that should absolutely be big league double plays, he's 100% in his head at all times. You can.
And it's one of the strange things. One of the strange things I thought fundamentally, and maybe this is just in my head, but when I envision with some of these throwing errors, he's either has to act quickly or it's in his head that he has to act quickly, because we've talked times before that he's not quite caught up with Major League speed. So when he catches the ball where he's then got to throw to second and he's not close to the bag, he's not moving his feet. He's feeling that he has to throw immediately so that his left foot is not moving. And so that's really hard to throw like that and should only be done in an emergency. And he's doing it now just because he can't cope with the speed. I'm a huge Madrigal fan. I'm 5'8", and I've coached you. I love speed and defense and everybody putting the bat on the ball instead of just dragging the bat back to the dugout after 3 pitches. Love everything that should be about Madrigal and was really hoping for him to be great. I don't know that he wouldn't be helped by going down to Charlotte for a while. But I don't know what you do when Leury can't hit. Danny Mendick is your choice to come up. Yes, I know he was I somehow had a Golden Glove nomination last year, but that was just bizarre. I mean, the lack of depth really is starting to show. And I don't know what you do for a lot of positioning things. When Engel gets back, you send Vaughn down to take some time. And Vaughn has never batted above single A until he started here.
Yeah.
Does he take some time in Charlotte to get back in the groove rather than, which would be your first thought is Hamilton. And it's
No, I think right now
where's one play? We've got first baseman already.
that's the thing. I think you keep Billy Hamilton right now and you send Vaughn down. And I think when you send him down, you split his time between left and first base, just in case, you know, we have to look that route at some point with multiple outfielders dealing with.
He's not going to DH if Yermín is hitting 565. I can guarantee you that.
He definitely is not. I mean, I'm in the camp of like, I can't believe Yermín is still in the starting lineup, but as long as the dude's on base percentage is 600, how do you keep him out? Even La Russa said he was like, oh, I'll be booed in introductions if I don't start Mercedes, which I kind of wanted to say, you're probably going to be booed during introductions anyway.
That's quick. This is off. We should take a break. But the first thing was, you were spared by going to that horrible game Sunday night. You were spared the ESPN broadcast.
Oh, man.
Was as horrible as anything I'd ever seen. A lot of the Sox fans are griping in comments and stuff. Oh, they're unfair to the Sox. They weren't unfair to the Sox. They were just stupid all the way around. But the big thing with the Sox was, other than Yermín, everything that they said about the Sox was La Russa. How great La Russa is. How brilliant La Russa. How the Sox fans loved it when they got Tony La Russa. Sox fans really, where have these people been? It's crazy. The only thing that I thought was a decent comment the whole night, A-Rod mentioned how Dylan Cease looked so totally lacking in confidence, which he did, just kind of wandering around the mound. And he said, when you think that's just him, he says, when batters see that, their eyes just light up.
Yeah.
And that was a very good comment, a good observation. The rest of it, oh man, was it awful. They couldn't even get the cameras in the right place.
I mean, I was getting texts from all over the place, from Sox fans and non-Sox fans saying, what the heck is this ESPN broadcast? It just sounded like it was awful. And speaking of awful, La Russa has not done anything well that La Russa is supposed to do well thus far. I mean, the pitching change decisions have been just dreadful early on.
Well, your Sunday night game, what the heck? Why we saved Liam Hendriks because he's the closer? The closer doesn't matter in the extra innings anymore because you start with a guy on second.
Oh my gosh, how do you not
settle down the ninth?
How do you not throw Liam Hendriks in the ninth? I don't understand it. You've been gifted this tie game that you have no business even being in competition for, and you don't throw the guy you're paying $15 million or whatever. It's insane to me. Why does Hendriks get it? He's only pitched once at that point in a game where they were up. It makes no sense to me. I'm so over it. I hate the closer thing. It's going to cost us so much if La Russa keeps doing this. But that's the story for another day. Let's take a break.
He invented the closer.
Let's take a break. Exactly. He invented them. So I guess he can do whatever. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about our starting pitchers a little bit more, because there actually has been some good and interesting things happening. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back on Sharing Sox. We dissected all of the offensive woes and many of the defensive woes. We've been hitting a lot of the woes, a few of the positive things, but let's talk about pitching a little bit, because let's start with Carlos Rodon, which actually was a pretty good showing, a very, very hopeful sign.
Actually excellent. If you went by the spring statistics, we always go, spring doesn't matter, especially for pitchers. If you did your pitching order out of spring, your pitching order would have been Rodon, Giolito, and I don't know. I guess we have to have a number 3. And really, so far, I mean, one appearance for everybody but Lucas. Your pitching order would be Rodon, Giolito, and I guess we got to have a number 3. Dallas Keuchel, by the time anybody hears this, will have pitched again, and I hope he's facing Seattle. He should do much better. Lynn has not looked. His control has not been sharp.
The Lynn deal is looking worse and worse by the day.
I didn't look. Dunning was supposed to pitch Tuesday night. Did you look?
Dunning, is that what you're asking? Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Pitched great. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned.
Jeez.
Yeah, he looked great. He looked like he could be Texas's next ace. He really did. And I'm happy to see him do well because
he's a good kid. Yeah.
Great pitcher. He's becoming a great pitcher, and he seems like a really, really nice guy. But yeah, that deal is looking, it's what we all anticipated and feared. That's not to say Lance Lynn is going to be lousy all year. Lance Lynn could be solid the rest of the year, but Dane came out firing and he looked sharp.
And it's 6 years to 1.
Wow. That is, it's not the Fernando Tatis deal, but it is an ugly deal. It is an ugly, ugly deal. Yeah, but Rodon is probably outside of the Yermín Mercedes fun. Rodon to me has been the best thing we've seen, the best surprise we've seen.
A starter.
First starter.
I think the best pitcher is Michael Kopech. And I've been a Kopech fan from way back, and I couldn't explain why, but when they had we've got these great young pitchers that we picked up. Kopech was one I just picked out there. I said, that's the one that's going to be great.
Yeah.
And of course, he hadn't pitched, but boy, he's looking sharp. And Crochet looks good.
Yeah.
Looks very good.
So I think,
and after that, it's Jose Ruiz. But
I think a really nice thing that's come out of this year is it is definitely looking like Kopech is going to be what we thought he was going to be, and Crochet is going to be what we thought he was going to be or better. And
I'm not sure Crochet is going to be a starter. You know, I'm not convinced of that yet. I think he could be a great reliever. But you know, first of all, you had last season where he pitched 6 innings and then suddenly couldn't pitch in the playoffs after throwing, I don't know, half dozen pitches or so. He's got more control on his motion this year, which is good, which is excellent. But still, just when you watch him, you still go, boy, that guy's going to get hurt if he pitches a lot. I don't know that he's got, 180 innings in him, not this year certainly, but even next year, the year after that thing. But boy, he's going to be a great reliever.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like Crochet will be most valuable to us as sort of like an Andrew Miller or even a Josh Hader type of arm, where he just becomes the guy at the end of the game, whether it's the 7th and 8th or the 9th. That hitters are just fearing that he comes into the game. As you said, his motion's getting better. It's only going to get better. And he's still going to be able to throw the ball 100 miles an hour. I think Crochet, I agree with you. I don't actually think Crochet is going to be a starter. And I don't think we should have him be a starter, because that kind of thrower, it's going to be real tough to have a long career if you are trying to throw 6 innings.
And Chris Sale did it for a number of years. So you can't say, Chris Sale shouldn't have been a starter. He should have been a starter. But boy, having that luck one time around, I don't know, you hit it again.
And Crochet is harder than Sale. So he's even one step further he's almost in the Aroldis Chapman category, which, Chapman, I can't stand him. I hate the guy, but
as a human being, yeah,
can't argue that the Cuban Missile has been a pretty great reliever throughout his career. I think that's what we're going to see from Crochet. I think Kopech is earning his spot in the starting rotation more and more each day.
I bet he'll start a couple games before the season's over.
Absolutely.
Maybe go 5 innings.
100%. He will absolutely start. I think we will see him start as early as July. Just because I don't know that the other 5 are going to hold up. And You don't sit with a guy like Kopech in your bullpen if your starters aren't getting it done. That being said, we were talking about Dylan Cease. We were talking about how batters, just see that lack of confidence and want to hit against it. He looked a lot better as the game went on. And I am going to stay on the Dylan Cease bandwagon. And I'm going to say that next time out, he's going to be great.
Well, yeah, sometimes he is. My feeling is if he's great one time out of three, we'll take it, because I think that's what he's good for.
I think he could even be better than that. But the big thing holding Dylan Cease back is not his pitching ability. The guy can pitch. It's confidence. It's confidence. You can see he's throwing with no confidence. He's throwing with major anxiety. And that's something you saw last year. You see it in his body language constantly. And if Katz can help him gain confidence and start the game with the confidence that he often hits around the third or fourth, then he's going to be good.
Well, yeah, but he's still, even though the Dylan Cease luck is famous, and even though he didn't give up more runs after the first, he was getting hit hard. I was following along on StatCast, and I mean, almost everything was over 100. Until I think maybe the fourth, if I get the inning right, he was pretty strong. But because he lacks both control and command, as they say, I mean, too many pitches are too hittable, even though he's throwing 99 miles an hour.
I do think that will change, though. I'm not writing off Dylan Cease yet. I actually think we're going to have a pretty solid starter in Dylan Cease throughout this year. I do not think he's going to be the Cy Young candidate that maybe someone on this podcast jokingly said he could be earlier. That was me, definitely not you. But
one of the players said it, though.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think he could be one of the best number 5 starters in baseball by the end of the year. And I know that is a loaded statement, but that still means something. If you're the number 5 starter, you still want to be the best number 5 starter in baseball. You don't want teams to be facing the number 5 thinking this is the game we win. You want them facing the number 5 thinking, oh man, that's a pretty good number 5. And I think that's where we're going to be with Cease. And I think Rodon might end up being feared by a lot of opposing lineups.
Health is always the question with Carlos, but maybe because he's had the Tommy John, he's not putting strain at places X, Y, or Z on his arm, and his health will stay on that.
I mean, he's the opposite, where he's pitching with a lot of confidence, and he is looking, at least with his motion, a little bit more like he won't get hurt. And that's knock on wood for many reasons. I hope Rodon doesn't get hurt. I really hope this guy can stay healthy. He seems like a great guy.
I thought his motion is very much straight to the plate now, which is not Cease's. I mean, that's one of Cease's big problems. I mean, all pitchers fall off to the side because your momentum carries you, but he looks like he's falling off to the side before his momentum is carrying him there. It just isn't in line.
Yeah, and that's why you throw a lot more balls than strikes, when you're.
And as for Keuchel, he looked really bad. But I'd say by the time this is even posted, he may have recovered and thrown a no-hitter because Seattle can't hit anyway.
Keuchel, though, is my number one concern. Keuchel's my number one concern, honestly, in the rotation. And that is just because he's older. And last year felt kind of like a fluke to me.
Well, yeah, and it was the worrisome part of last year. I mean, obviously it was incredible. Again, pitching against very, very bad teams.
Very bad.
And very bad teams whose best hitters, be it Christian Yelich or Bryant and Rizzo, weren't hitting last year.
Right.
Then at the end of the year, he got the back spasms. He came back. He was not effective. Injury, as you say, he's older. He's going to be more prone to injuries. He doesn't throw real hard, so he's not, yanking his body around every time he throws a pitch. But yeah, I don't know that he's completely out of the woods yet. But
I
again,
hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But people were very thrilled with Keuchel last year, and I get that. But it did not feel like it was necessarily something we were going to see consistently. I hope it is. I hope, today, if he doesn't pitch well today, that's a problem because these Mariners are pretty stinky. But hopefully he comes out and gives us a good outing. I mean, it's really strange right now. Like what you said earlier, it feels like Rodon is our real number 2. Giolito, despite having given up some runs this year, still looks.
Oh no, he's really your number 1. I was kind of kidding about Rodon first and then Giolito, but yeah, but the rest.
The thing I love about Giolito too right now is Giolito does not look knocked off balance at all when people are getting on base and people are scoring runs.
Yeah.
He just looks like, all right, they got one. I'm an ace. It'll be fine. And that's how ace has to throw.
It's a total confidence look without a cocky look.
Exactly.
Because that can go over the top on the confidence side too, but it's not. He's just a solid guy. He's a very, very smart guy, and he's got it. I mean, he's just in control of his situation, not just the ball, but the situation.
He's become such a smart pitcher, such a smart player, and that confidence is earned. It's not just because he can throw real hard and thinks he's great. He is becoming an elite major league pitcher, even if he wasn't one before, which he was already headed there. But now he just looks even smarter, even sharper. I think he is going to have an outstanding season. I really do. Just the way he's carrying himself, even after a big hit, giving up a run, there's no getting down. It is just on to the next guy. Let's do this. And that is what you need from your ace.
Yeah, even when he's getting no defense.
And exactly. And he's not getting down when he's having bad defense behind him. And that is also huge. He's not, throwing like, we should have gotten that. He is just saying, all right, now I'm going to pitch with guys on base. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get him out. And it's also crucial for him to look like that in front of guys like Dylan Cease and Carlos Rodon, because that type of energy is contagious. Just like we see it with Tim Anderson in the field, and you see all the other guys sort of catch on and start to get that energy. It's the same with pitchers. If your ace isn't out there throwing like he owns the game, you're 3, 4, and 5, they're not going to see any reason to act like they could own the game. And the way Giolito's pitching right now, I think it will translate to the other guys. Rodon is already looking a lot like Giolito in the way he's carrying himself. And I think we're just going to see more of that as the season goes. I'm pretty excited about the pitching situation happening with the White Sox right now.
Well, it should be solid. Meanwhile, on the hitting front, really haven't been hitting right-handers at all. Been crushing left-handers. That's the usual for us. Tim Anderson should be back, I think, for opening day. I hope. I don't know what we're going to do at second base if Madrigal doesn't catch on. Leori's not really a very good choice over there either. Neither's Mendick, but we'll see. And by the time we do the show again, we'll probably be finding out who disappears when Adam Engel comes back.
I think you're right. I think we're going to know a lot more when we record next week. And I'm looking forward to it. But, here's hoping when we meet up next week, we have a winning record. And I certainly think we're trending in that direction. So, being on the road against Seattle and then getting the Royals at home.
That's nice.
You better make something of that, is all I'm saying. You got to make something of that. Despite how the Royals and Tigers started as the best teams in the American League Central, I think it's time to put them in their place and take charge a little bit. But that's all the time we have for this sort of extended episode for us as Sharon said.
Yeah, we are wordy.
We had a lot to talk about today. Hope you had fun. We did. Any final thoughts, Geezer?
Have a good opening day at home.
Yeah, have fun, everyone who listens, who's going to the game tomorrow. Be safe, have fun. No matter what, it is just so great to be back in a baseball stadium watching these guys play. And I mean, I'm jealous. Anyone who gets to go to the Yerminators home opener is in for a real treat. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on Sharing Socks.